Hello everyone, my name's Alan. I hope you're doing well. In this video I'm going to talk about the materials for the first week of ULAB 21-22. This is materials from part of the book English for Academic Writing. As you can see here, we're going to first have an introduction to academic writing. We will talk about some details like the audience, the purpose, genre, and tone. We'll talk about types of academic writing, and then we will discuss academic essays and the structure of an academic essay as part of Unit 1. Then, as part of Unit 6, we will talk about providing evidence using in-text citation, and then we will have a bit more details regarding the APA style of in-text citation and referencing, which is part of Unit 4. So let's start. First of all, we need to have a definition for what an academic writing is. Well, the name itself suggests the meaning. This is a piece of writing that is written in an academic context, like, for example, academic institutions like universities. And it is different from a simple opinion essay in which you express your opinion, your personal opinion towards something. There are many different examples of academic writings. There's a long list here, like, for example, academic essays, business reports, laboratory reports, and many other examples. Well, there are some certain features of academic writing that we will discuss in general. We say, for example, the language of academic writing must be formal. That means there are some certain features of informal language, like colloquial language, like the slangs that we are not allowed to use, and we will have to follow and practice the rules about punctuation and grammar. And also, it consists of citation. What do you mean by citation? Well, first of all, before we talk about citation, we need to know that when we talk about an academic writing, we are talking about doing a lot of research before writing the paper. That means we will have to read about the topic, we will have to have an in-depth understanding of the topic ourselves, and then later we need to bring enough support from different books, materials, let's say articles from newspapers, from magazines, or maybe some online sources, and we have to mention them. And by mentioning them, this is what we mean when we say in-text citation or referencing. We will talk about this later towards the end of the video. And about some other features, as we said, you're expected to, let's say, discuss some abstract thoughts, not merely some simple opinions of yourself. And as you can see, as the last point about the features, it discourages surface writing. This is the same, let's say, thing I told you, like you need to have a lot of research, you will have to read about the topic, and you will have to explore, let's say, deeper, ideas regarding the issue. Well, regarding the audience, it's very important to be able to identify who the audience of your writing is, who the, let's say, who's going to read your paper, because that affects two things that are very important. One of them is the content of your writing, and the other one is the purpose of your writing. Let me make it a bit clearer. Sometimes you're writing an article or a piece of paper to, let's say, audience who are not familiar, or at least we say who are not as familiar as you are with the topic. So in this context, you are required to bring more explanations and details to clarify some certain things, like, for example, some technical terms. But for audience that are already familiar with the topic, or maybe know more, you're not supposed to do that. And it sometimes makes a difference in the amount of evidence, let's say, that you bring, that you include inside your paper. Because, for example, once you're writing a persuasive paper, different audience might need, let's say, different amount of evidence. Some audience can be persuaded easily, while others cannot be. So this is why I believe, or it's believed, let's say, that identifying the audience is very important. And about the purpose of writing, very generally we say there are three different purposes. It's either to inform, to persuade, or to entertain. It can be, the purpose can be very generally one of these. By informing, we mean, for example, when you're giving information to the audience, when you're explaining some facts about something. By persuading, we mean when you are explaining your personal opinion towards something. And by entertaining, like, for example, all the stories, all the novels are writings whose purpose is to entertain the people. But let me make something clear. In persuasive essays, as I told you, we express our opinion towards something. And we try to make the reader believe in what we think. And previously we said that we need facts, we need factual information to support our ideas. But this does not mean we are not allowed at all, for example, to bring our opinions. Even when we bring our opinions towards something, we will have to have enough factual information and evidence to support our ideas. And the audience affects the purpose. How? As I mentioned before, sometimes the writer knows more than the audience, so the purpose of the essay here is to inform them, giving them information that they do not know. But sometimes, let's say, the audience knows more than the writer about the topic. This happens, for example, in some high levels of education when you're writing a thesis. And the purpose here is to show that you're familiar with the topic, that you have an in-depth understanding of the topic. It's not to inform them, because they already know probably even more than you do. And there are some certain rhetorical devices that you can use. They can help with your purpose. There's a long list of them here, like paradox, irony, anecdotes, and things. Some of the words you might be already familiar with, like, for example, paradox, let's say two ideas, two words that are apparently the opposite. Irony, saying something and meaning something else. And rhetorical question, for example, which means questions that are not intended to be answered, because the writer, or let's say the speaker, asks a rhetorical question to let's say, to say that to emphasize a fact. Okay, like, for example, we say, isn't it true? Well, when I say isn't it true about something that I've already asserted, I actually mean that what I'm saying is true, and I do not expect you to answer this. Well, there are some other words that you might not be familiar with, like, for example, oxymoron. By oxymoron, we mean using words that are not normally used together, because they express two opposite, let's say, ideas. When I say, for example, he is clearly confused, this is an oxymoron, because clear and confused cannot be used together. When something is clear, it does not cause confusion. Or, for example, when we say something grows smaller, well, grow is not normally used with, let's say, getting smaller. So these are oxymorons. And syllogism might be also another term that you might not be familiar. By syllogism, this is a kind of reasoning that is used probably a lot in mathematics. A very simple example to clarify what we mean by syllogism is this. We say A is B's neighbor and B is C's neighbor. So the conclusion is that A is also C's neighbor. This syllogism is not always true. The result is not always what seems to be, let's say, true. Like, for example, we say the elephant cannot fly, and let's say he cannot fly either. So the conclusion cannot be drawn to say that, for example, he is an elephant. This is funny. So this is what we mean by syllogism. But all these devices, if they are used properly and professionally, they can help you a lot to convey your message, or to, let's say, make people agree, or to, let's say, make them persuaded. And another word that might not be familiar to you is aphorism. By aphorism, we mean the use of some well-known sayings. Like, for example, we say actions speak louder than words. When we say actions speak louder than words, this is a sentence. This is a saying that has a lot of meaning. Instead of, for example, bringing a lot of explanations, bringing a lot of details, only one sentence can convey all the message. So this is what we mean also by aphorism. You can study